the mustard seed, then nurture it, water it, grow it into that tree in your rainforest.
You should already start with the mustard seed.
In our society.
There are some things we take that good for you at the same time. That's the bad side.
Yeah. What is it that you want to leave us with?
Fallen heroes, but their sacrifice was made up in the greater good of our fatherland.
President Buhari approves payment of security development allowance to veterans with effect from 2017.
Ahead of festivities, Federal Executive Council approves additional operational vehicles for road safety corps.
The CBN should really now go on to very serious enlightenment.
Central Bank of Nigeria enjoins to ensure extensive sensitization and security features on the new notes.
Good morning, Nigeria today. World Toilet Summit is the focus of our conversation segment.
The general saying that clean communities produce healthy citizens is another pointer to the importance of clean environment to nations of the world, as the productivity of every nation depends on the well-being of its citizens. Hence, the various interventions and measures put in place by government to ensure clean environment and quality personal hygiene at all times.
Now, the proper use of toilets, which will lead to ultimately the eradication of open defecation, is one such intervention, and it's been advocated as a promoter of good health. And experts say this will allow people to dispose of their waste appropriately, prevent contamination of the environment, and the spread of diseases, particularly waterborne diseases such as cholera. And this has informed the synergy amongst the leaders of the world under the umbrella of the United Nations to seek collaboration to end open waste disposal.
Obviously, the annual Well Toilet Day is one of the steps taken to create awareness about the need for all human beings to have access to good health through improved sanitation. And for the year 2022, the need to improve collaboration among stakeholders in driving accelerated access to sustainable sanitation services, enhanced enabling environment for sanitation service delivery through private sector participation, and also accelerate progress on the Clean Nigeria campaign and achieving open defecation-free Nigeria by 2025 are some of the issues expected to be addressed.
As at last year, 2021, the United Nations Children's Fund, that's UNICEF, observed that the rate of open defecation in Nigeria had remained rather steady at about 23%, with an estimated 46 million Nigerians still engaging in the habit of open defecation. And this is in spite of the fact that the Nigerian government launched an action plan in 2018 to eradicate the process. This, of course, has been spearheaded by the Federal Ministry of Water Resources in its aspiration to end the practice by the year 2025.
Indeed, Kingsley, the plan involves providing equitable access to water, sanitation and hygiene services, and it is tailored towards community approaches to total sanitation. But why is the statistics this steady? What is hindering states from keying into the program? What can be done to fast-track the acceptance of the WASH initiative? And what should be the role of the private sector in changing the narratives for good? These are some of the questions that Good Morning Nigeria will be seeking answers to today as we evaluate World Toilet Summit on the network service of the NTA. I'm Ian Ray John.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I joined my colleague Ian Ray to also welcome you to the program Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. And because of the program, our usual complimentary segments, including business news and newspaper review, will also be taken care of. Right now, here is Tessie Omeri, who has the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, Tessie.
Good morning, Kingsley. Hello, Ian Ray. Good morning, Nigerians, and here is the morning news. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved more than 134.7 billion naira for the payment of security department allowance to all veterans who retired from the Nigerian Armed Forces with effect from 2017. The president, who dropped this cheery news at the launch of the 2023 Armed Forces Remembrance Day emblem appeal fund, stressed the need for the enormous potentials of the ex-servicemen be tapped for national development.
I would like to reiterate my earlier resolve to hand over a Nigeria at the end of my tenure that is free from insecurity to the next generation of leaders, and with the gallantry and sacrifices exhibited by men and women of our armed forces in the campaign against insurgency, I am confident the nation will be returned to normalcy, and we will continue to battle decisively for the security challenges.
And as the festive season approaches, it is expected that the activities of the Federal Road Safety Commission will be on the increase towards the prevention of road accidents. In view of this, the Federal Executive Council at its meeting on Wednesday approved the request for additional operational vehicles.
Operational vehicles for the Federal Road Safety Corps. Total 2,578,948,164 naira 36 kobo only. Please note that the contracts were secured by locally based auto manufacturers.
Now to the National Assembly. Efforts are ongoing to ensure that all flood-impacted communities and victims are provided the needed support. This was the assurance of the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency when some lawmakers expressed dissatisfaction over the distribution of relief materials to victims of the 2022 flood.
Use the Nigerian Navy to go for rescue mission to go and save lives. We use the Nigerian Air Force to drop food items. I also have pictures. If the committee wants, I can show you evidences of all this state by state.
I'm from Edo. I had 33 communities taking over. Are we not supposed to know and to be on ground with you there when you go?
The redesigning of the Naira notes will not only check corruption and counterfeiting, but will also curtail the activities of bandits and kidnappers. This is coming from the Senate as it reconvenes after 4 weeks of recess. This followed Senator Uba Sani's motion, which uploaded the planned redesigning but employed the Central Bank of Nigeria to carry out extensive awareness across the country and to ensure more security features on the new notes to check counterfeiting. But senators differ on deadline when the old notes will cease to be legal tender.
1 month and a half is extremely short for what we're about to do. Because if you withdraw 1 trillion from this economy at once in a month, the ripple effect will affect everybody. Some people have resorted to now going to buy commodities and the like. So I think these are issues that we also have to take note of.
The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission ICPC has emerged as the federal establishment with the best website in Nigeria. This was at the public presentation of the results for 2021-2022 federal government scorecard in Abuja.
Our finding has equally shown that there are challenges of skill gap which must be adequately bridged for the success of the scorecard to be adequately consolidated and sustained.
We have also seen tremendous improvement in the number of MDA to have various domains that their portals and websites can run on.
The African Development Bank President Dr. Akinwumi Adesina has emphasized that the right of African countries to use their natural gas reserves should be reflected in any deal at the COP27 climate talks, even as some nations push to see the use of the fuel curtailed.
Even if Africa uses all of its natural gas for power, you know how much it will contribute to emissions? 0.67. That's all. So Africa must have natural gas to complement its renewable energy to assure access, affordability, and security of power supply.
And that's the news for now. Good morning. Nigeria continues with Kingsley and Inyere after the break. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Hi there. You can fly, Sha, but you're always saving on everything except for here. This is where you're throwing money down the drain. How? On this cleaning product. It is possible. You need the new Harpic toilet cleaner. With just 130 Naira sachet of Harpic toilet cleaner, you save more. Harpic stick formula stays longer, so it cleans 10 times better. Wow, hey! And it's safe because it's only 30 Naira, giving you a sparkling clean toilet and great savings too.
Dialogue, empathy, love and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message from the National Orientation Agency.
The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) hereby informs the general public that the preliminary register of voters will be displayed for public scrutiny in all registration areas, wards, nationwide from Saturday 12th to Friday 18th November 2022. The preliminary register of voters will also be displayed on the Commission's official website. INEC will address the claims, objections, and complaints arising from the public scrutiny of the register at registration areas, wards from Saturday 12th to Friday 18th November 2022 and at INEC local government offices from Saturday 19th to Friday 25th November 2022. All registered voters are advised to cross-check their details in the register. Any voter whose name and personal particulars are incorrect can file a claim. Furthermore, the public can file objections against any name wrongfully included in the register. This message is from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
The security situation in Nigeria has been reasonably stable in spite of activities of unpatriotic elements engaged in various criminal activities around the country. Daily situation reports coming in from states 2 months ago, it has shown relative peace on many of our highways, such as Abuja, Kaduna Birnin Gwari, Sokoto, Zamfara, Kaduna.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
It's now time to have a bit of business as development experts enjoin public and private sectors to leverage science and technology to tame rising inflation. Kunle Adeyeye has details.
The National Bureau of Statistics announced 21.09% as the inflation rate for October 2022. The National Bureau of Statistics cited a rise in the cost of energy, flood which hit some food production states and others as major factors for the rise in inflation. The Bureau also attributed the rise in food inflation to increase in the price of cereals, bread, potatoes, yam and other food items. A development economist, Dr. Emeka Okengo, said taking studies in science and technology will help tame the rising inflation in the country. He said localizing production is one of the key components of the process.
The best and the only pathway for us, we begin to look the way of science, technology and innovation. Like some other people will say, get innovative. Like some other people will say, get more artistic. Okay, so in all, we need to find new ways. We need to create new prosperity pathways. Okay, and that will be basically to begin to look for those things that first will make us more self-sufficient in whatever areas we're talking about. You know, we'll be able to localize the production of our needs in whatever areas it is.
The economic expert pinpointed that human capital development is a quest that must get the needed attention. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
All right, coming up next for us now is newspaper review. All right, let's begin by taking a look at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust newspaper, that's below the nameplate, you have the following headlines. PDP crisis, G5 demands equity in reconciliation moves. We won't pay ASU for work not done, federal government insists. Gombe bags 4 World Bank States Award on fiscal transparency. At parley with candidates, that's the kicker. CAN, that's the Christian Association of Nigeria, sets agenda for Tinubu, Atiku and others. The key things Buhari's successor must do. according to camp president. Why I didn't pick Christian running mate, according to Tinubu. Drunken soldier crushes army general to death in Lagos barracks. Drunken soldier crushes army general to death in Lagos barracks. Senate backs CBN's Naira redesign policy. 11-year-old maid tortured by employer dies in Jos. 7 years after, aviation roadmap mired in controversies and delays. Harry?
Alright, the Punch is next, and just below the masthead we have the Borders headline, which has a kicker: Muslim ticket. Friends criticizing me lobbied for vice president slot, and that is credited to Tinubu. At the writer's of that story, we have Tinubu meets Khan, says he didn't Islamize his family, can't do such to Nigeria. Nigeria needs religiously neutral state, not a religious state. Association advises federal government. And next president must ensure a good balance between Muslims and Christians. And that's credited to some associations there. Away from that story, above the masthead, we have federal government asked to begin fresh showdown. Minister tackles lecturers, and details can be found on page 25 of the Punch. Next to that, we have Naira redesign targets looted funds, and that is credited to the EFCC chair. We also have on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning, government planning bank guarantees for Nigeria-Ethiopia deal. Quickly looking away from those stories at the top of the front page of the Punch, just below the picture story of the front page this morning, we have surrender mandate if APC loses, parties tell Buhari, and details can be found on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. Next to that, we have 9 killed as gunmen invade Plateau community. And also on the front page this morning is Ohaneze Sultan orders condemn secession bid. So that's it from the Punch this morning.
All right. We also will take a look at the front page of the New Telegraph newspaper. New Telegraph, below the nameplate, we have some headlines to read. From below the nameplate of New Telegraph. INEC to Nigerians. Clear 2023 voters register. And laments poor PVC collection, says loyalty and allegiance to Nigeria and Nigerians. The next story is the 2023 election, says political dynasties gear for battle as emerging and established power blocks aim for relevance. In politics, governance turn to family affair, and they emphasize rallies in key rated parties. Now, also there on the front page is a second list story below the photograph, says ASU face-off lingers as federal government insists on no work, no pay. And then also there on the front page, we already read the story about Tinubu. Then 2023 close ranks, get your PVCs. Ohaneze tells Indigbo, laments funding gap. Flooding, NEMA neglected worst affected states. That's according to the House of Reps. We provided 12,000 metric tons of grains to 36 states, according to the DG of NEMA. Senate urges federal government to release 500 billion naira from service-wide votes for road rehabilitation. And then the other story there on the front page, it's again on politics. Atiku plus blueprint to bridge poverty gap and implement Oronsaye report. Alice fears over G5 governors' stance, and G5 governors won't jettison equity, fairness, and justice. That's according to Wike. Apologizes to Shomole over past remarks. And lastly there, we will take from the front page of the New Telegraph study. Loud music, earbuds may increase the risk of hearing loss. It says loud music and earbuds may increase the risk of hearing loss. Now, these are the headlines we're taking from the front page of the New Telegraph newspaper. I read from the Daily Trust a while ago a story of an 11-year-old maid who was tortured by an employer in Jos. Now, you don't have the photograph of that story on the front page, but we're going to page 10. We're going to page 10, where you have the story in greater detail. You can see that it's a bit, we have to apologize for not warning you in advance that you may find that picture there rather disturbing, and indeed it is disturbing. You can see the sores on the back of the 11-year-old maid in the first instance. Now, her name Margaret, she's reported to have died at the Jos University Teaching Hospital as a result of wounds she sustained on account of torture by her employers at VOM in Jos. Now, we also understand that the maid apparently was trafficked from Kebbi State, and the Plateau State Director of the Human Rights Commission has already confirmed the incident. We understand also from the report now that the couple who allegedly tortured the 11-year-old maid, of course they said she had been a victim of frequent torture, and that the wounds that she suffered in the course of the torture were left untreated until they became infected. There was a neighbor who eventually took late Margaret, to a private hospital where unfortunately she later on passed on after she was transferred to the Jos University Teaching Hospital. We understand from the report that the couple have been arrested and transferred to the state CID for thorough investigation and eventual prosecution. That is a horrible story.
Very terrible. I don't want to think about it. 11-year-old is a child. I mean, what is an 11-year-old doing as a maid? You said all the way from Kebbi to Jos.
That's the report, yes.
I mean, it's just something I do want to think about. And what comes to my mind will be that why would parents, sometimes consent to this? Allowing their kids, leave home to go serve as maids with someone else, and then for people who even take them in as maids, why would you take an 11-year-old? I mean, that's a crime, to start with, because you can't have a child as your maid. This is very wrong. Absolutely wrong. And I just hope that the right thing is done as regards this case, so that other people can take a cue and probably learn lessons from it, because you get to see a lot of children around really working as maids. And I think that the situation of the crisis in some parts of the country where some people are displaced, where they lose guardians or parents, has actually increased this particular problem, because if you don't have someone to take care of you, or your parents can no longer continue to take care of you, they now ship you to somewhere with the hope that you'll be taken care of. But I mean, this is another very, very sad experience, and I think that the needful needs to be done just so we can check this trend.
It's a terrible incident, and getting the right things done, in my opinion, would require the intervention of multiple agencies, because assuming the details, of course, do then fall into place, trafficking of an 11-year-old, that will involve NAPTIP, that is the Agency Against Prohibition and Trafficking in Persons. It will also involve the National Human Rights Commission, which was already there then. The police authorities are also there. Plus, of course, issues around child abuse, the Child Rights Act. I hope and I do believe that the right voices in society would speak out to this, to ensure that those who were responsible for this terrible incident, because the death has resulted from the alleged torture of the person. And if the photograph, look at those horrible sores on the back of an 11-year-old. Even if you were dealing with a slave and the era of serfdom is long since gone, this of course shouldn't happen in any sane society. And justice must be delivered. Exactly. Justice must be delivered. It turns out that human trafficking, some of the parents are not aware. Some of the persons are lured. Some of the persons are also misled, and this is the consequence. But you, the receiver of an underage child, as a maid, ought therefore to exercise some caution. So there are many counts of charges that can be drafted for this. And as I have said, in serving the cause of justice, we should ensure that there is diligent prosecution so that those who are responsible for this are kept away from society, let them get into a correctional service center for as long as possible, and then we hope that they come back to their senses, and others not probably learn a lesson, and others will learn a lesson from what has happened. May the soul of Margaret rest
in peace. Another sad story is that of a soldier that was crushed, rather a general that was crushed by a soldier yesterday. That's a very sad story. And reading this story last night, Tululokpe Arotile actually came to my mind. A similar way that young lady passed on. I'm thinking, what's a soldier doing being drunk inside the barracks?
Being drunk, of course, is an offense if you're a military personnel, because you're supposed to be sober at all material times. We understand that the drunken soldier has been taken in. The incident occurred at the Nigerian Armed Forces Resettlement Center at Oshodi in Lagos. Everybody who's familiar with that axis of Lagos is on the Apapa Oshodi Expressway, not too far off. It's a vast complex which is used for the training of soldiers prior to their disengagement from service. The officer who was unfortunately crushed by that is because they say there was a dent on the bonnet of the vehicle, and then the windscreen was also shattered.
Yes.
Also Brigadier General and Director of Finance in that complex. Now, I just want to assume, for instance, that for that impact to have occurred, it means the driver
was
driving at top speed. I should also imagine that I've been inside that complex a number of times, but certainly not in recent years. That where were you driving to? The incident occurred on Monday, but then the general was taken into hospital. But of course, he passed away yesterday morning. So, at what speed was he driving? And there sleeping policemen, what we generally refer to as speed bumps, speed breakers on the roads within that particular complex? Because that was also happened to the late Arotile, who was the first female combat helicopter pilot for the Nigerian Air Force. She was within the Nigerian Air Force complex, and some young persons, I don't know the outcome of that case now, because it hasn't been focused on it. Some young men who were driving, it just ran into her, and the next thing was, an obituary, and the parents, of course, were heartbroken. So in this particular case, it would appear to me that one of the things that the authorities would need to do in the first instance, let's say the Armed Forces Resettlement Center, would be to install speed brakes. Once you install speed brakes, then it makes it more challenging for even the drunken driver to run. The drunken driver would then be at a greater risk to himself. But it's most unfortunate. We know that the armed forces they have their own regulations, they have their own ways of dealing with this, because the incident involved two military personnel, and the incident also occurred within the premises of the military. So they will have their own ways of looking at this, but in the event, this is not on the face of it a clear case of murder. It will be manslaughter and so on and so forth. But we do hope that the course of justice will be served, and speedily too. It's against all norms that not just within the premises of let's say an institution such as the military.
To be drunk and be driving.
At any material time, which is why in advanced countries you have road safety officers or even the police go about with breathalyzers just to take a sample and then take the volume of alcohol, the level of alcohol in your system, and once that happens, of course, you are prevented there and then from continuing driving. Because one, you are a hazard to yourself, and two, you are a hazard to other road users. The Brigadier General on that day woke up and said, "Look, I'm going to work, or I'm walking around. I will see you in the evening." Next day, they saw him in the hospital, and there's an obituary.
Okay, very sad, and but there's no time now. The story that is very interesting is that of earbuds and people losing their hearing as a result of using earpods. I'm sure you have a lot to say about this generation and everybody having something stuck in their ears these days. So
it's an advisory. It's also a status symbol. When you have your earbuds and then you are listening, it's the decibel of the sound that would affect getting into when we studied biology in those days. You have the eardrum, which is the tympanic membrane, and then you have the three semicircular canals that steady your balance and so on and so forth. The eardrum is, of course, supposed to filter out noise in the first instance and dust and filth and so on and so forth. But when the noise is peering directly into your ears, well, it's a hazard. You probably will not feel the consequence right now, but much later you just might have. And people already say though that our environment is pretty noisy, and so why then bring the noise directly into your ears?
All right. Okay, let's take a break. Now, when we come back, we shall get into our discussion, which is on the World Toilet Summit.
Dial Media, in association with Kabbalah Toilet, presents The Candidate, a presidential town hall meeting series where the presidential candidates and the 6 leading political parties tell us about their plans for the country. Join Kadaria Ahmed as she leads us into the world of these candidates from the 17th to the 23rd of November 2022. This very important program will be streamed on FRCN, Radio Now, DSTV, NTA, Facebook, YouTube, and more. This is a town hall meeting you shouldn't miss. Tune in. Let's hear from the candidates.
Bye, Mom.
He's going to play in this weather. Why did you let him go? He might fall ill. And if he doesn't go out for practice, how will he win more trophies? To protect our family from illness-causing germs during the rainy season, we use Dettol soap every day.
Dettol with Germ Defense gives you protection. Rainy season brings a lot of germs, and Dettol soap's Germ Defense protects you from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol soap.
I'm a teacher by profession.
I trained as a nurse.
I could not even remember some of them, but by their approach, greeting, and respect,
I make beads. Liquid soap is, I have stopped buying liquid soap from the market. I make it, and I teach these young ones how to do that. And when I do, it is not for any fee.
In most cases, I serve as consultants. Many people come to me inquiring how to go about doing the farming. I normally direct them on what to do.
Right now, I'm not into any paid job, as I said, but I'm happy doing what I do.
Senior citizens over the years have shown that they are still capable of working. They have shown that retirement is only but a social construct, not a limitation. Senior citizens until the end carry around a wealth of knowledge that we can tap into. They have walked these journeys we now walk today. They have amassed all of these experiences so they can stand holding the torch so we do not stumble in the dark. Our senior citizens are national assets, packed full with inestimable value. They should not be condemned to a life of obscurity, but one where they serve to illuminate our path. Promoting senior citizens for intergenerational workforce.
Today, we're here to tell you that while we may not be there yet, our military and other security agencies have succeeded and are succeeding in substantially restoring security across the nation. As far as the daunting security challenges we face are concerned, we can tell you that the worst is over. And never again will terrorists and bandits and their cohorts hold sway in our country.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
Thank you. Hi there. You can price shop, but you're always saving on everything except for here. This is where you're throwing money down the drain. How? On this cleaning product. Impossible. You need the new Harpic toilet cleaner. With just 130 Naira sachet of Harpic toilet cleaner, you save more. Harpic stick formula stays longer, so it cleans 10 times better. Wow, hey! And it's safe because it's only 30 Naira, giving you a sparkling clean toilet and great savings too.
It's Good Morning Nigeria. We're live on the network service of Africa's largest television network, the Nigerian Television Authority. As a prompt for our conversation, which is on the World Toilet Summit, let's listen to this background report compiled by our correspondent, Joseph Otsen.
Back in February 2022, founder of the World Toilet Organization, Jack Sim, announced Nigeria as the official host of the 2022 World Toilet Summit, slated for 18th to 19th November 2022. This was a statement received with open arms by the Nigerian government, who saw it as an acknowledgement of the country's extensive work to end open defecation and other sanitation challenges. The country has been on top of the chart on Global Open Defecation Index since taking over from India in 2019. Today, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has disclosed that 46 million Nigerians do not have access to safe sanitation facilities despite intending health hazards. Open defecation, health experts say, contaminates the environment and spread diseases like diarrhea, cholera, typhoid, and dysentery. More so, there is high correlation to productivity losses, with the World Bank estimating that inadequate sanitation costs African countries billions of dollars each year in lost GDP. For Nigeria, this is a crisis that needs urgent attention, and being on top of the Global Open Defecation Index is not an indication authorities are not doing enough, as records also show high commitment to cut down the numbers. In November 2018, President Muhammadu Buhari declared a state of emergency in the water, sanitation and hygiene WASH sector and launched a national campaign tagged Clean Nigeria, Use the Toilet to jumpstart the country's journey towards becoming open defecation free by 2025. Since then, collaboration between national, international and the private sector towards this direction has been on, and the latest figures shows some progression. At the last World Media Conference ahead of the World Toilet Summit 2022, to be hosted by Nigeria, the Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu affirmed that 85 out of Nigeria's 774 local government areas are now open defecation free, up from 18 in 2019 and 1 in 2017. He pointed out Jigawa State as the shining star after it became the first state to be declared open defecation free. Authorities also add that 75% of Nigerians are now having access to basic drinking water services, an increase from 70% in 2019. Access to toilet and hand washing facilities also increased modestly from 44% to above 46% over the same period. With the 2022 World Toilet Summit coming up soon, will Nigeria's model of basic human rights to water, sanitation and hygiene stand the test of time? How impactful would a gathering of global stakeholders in fashioning out innovations that will assist countries like Nigeria address sanitation and critical health burden? These and other related issues will engage guests on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you, Joseph, for that background report, which now leads us to the introduction of our guest for today. And joining us in the studio here is the Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu. It's a pleasure to have you here. You're welcome.
Good morning, Nigerians.
All right. Also here with us in the studios this morning is Dr. Nicholas Igwe. Dr. Nicholas Igwe is the coordinator, organized private sector water, sanitation and hygiene program, WASH. Dr. Igwe, glad to have you this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, and good morning, Nigerians.
And the executive director of the FCT Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Directorate, WASA, is here in the studios, Dr. Mohammed Dan Hassan. Dr. Dan Hassan, glad to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. We're expecting another guest to be with us later on in the conversation. That to be via Zoom is the founder of the World Toilet Organization. And once we're able to get his presence via Zoom, we will, of course, bring him into the conversation. Let's start off with the Honorable Minister of Water Resources. Why a World Toilet Summit?
Well, thank you very much. This came to us also as a surprise, World Toilet Summit. I think, I don't think it appears, it's certainly clear that the world has been watching the efforts we've been making towards taking Nigeria out of the practice of open defecation in accordance with our roadmap, the Clean Nigeria campaign, the WASH Action Plan, and so on. And therefore, the World Toilet Organization, which is an independent and civil society organization, which was also responsible for advocating for the United Nations to declare November 19th of every year as World Toilet Day. A very strong advocacy group or organization chose to do its annual summit in Nigeria this time around. Basically to say, look, we appreciate what you are doing, I think, that's what they have said, and also to give us all the encouragement to bring the issue of toilets, better use of toilets and sanitation innovations to focus so that can continue to drive our process of making Nigeria open defecation free. So I think it's Nigeria is an international support, international recognition and support of the efforts that we're doing, and to kind of give us more encouragement to do more.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Minister. But I'll stay with you. You said it's to show support for the efforts that you're making as regards open defecation. In 2021, which is last year, I remember during the World Toilet Summit, you stated that 46 million Nigerians are still engaging in open defecation. This year, in June precisely, the Washington report says 48 million Nigerians are involved in open defecation. Now, how do you intend to achieve, your target of zero defecation, or not having people engage in open defecation by 2025 with these statistics? 46 million, 48 million now. Are you making progress? And then what are the factors responsible if you are?
Yeah, like I've been saying, it appears, when we saw the Washington report, we said it appears we're doing one step forward and two steps backwards. But the real issue is our efforts is not going, it should exceed the population growth. So when you look at it in terms of, the percentage may look awkward, but the truth is in absolute terms. For instance, if you look at the number of local governments that were ODF in 2020 and what we have today, the report said 85. Okay, since that report, we've now increased that to 92. as of last week. So we have 92 local government areas that are open defecation free. So we are making progress, but because the progress is not commensurate with it should be well beyond the population growth. So if we are not making a quantum leap, obviously you will not see much progress. The only progress you can see is in terms of the entities, the political entities that are open defecation free. And today we are also saying that we already have one state that is fully with all its local government that are open defecation free. So yes, it's a progress, but it doesn't appear to be progress because of this these statistical distortions, because of the population. And that is what the World Toilet Summit that we're having and every other thing is coming to address. We need to make a quantum leap. But to be able to do that, we need the state governments, we need the political will. We want states to show the same political commitment that Jigawa State has shown. The governor was on top of the whole situation, having regular meetings with all strata of the society, these traditional rulers, his commissioners and everybody, put a legislation, and now already working on how to sustain that particular effort. So if we can have the same kind of response that we got from Jigawa State and Katsina State, which has like maybe 75% or 80% now of his local government that are open defecation free, then we'll get there. As I'm talking to you, a total of 12 states have at least one LGA that is open defecation free. And we feel that from this World Toilet Summit, in addition to all the efforts we've been making, the campaign, the pledge card that was signed by Mr. President and the Vice President and myself, Minister, almost all the governors are signing that pledge card now. We feel that we'll get there. It's tough. It's not easy to change behavioral, people's behavior, because there are still some cultural norms in this country, in certain areas of the country, that having a toilet in your house is a taboo. So it's not easy to break that taboo, but we are getting there.
Okay, I would like you to return to the idea of the summit. Where is this year's summit taking place? What is the theme, and who are the likely participants at the summit?
Well, the summit is taking place in Abuja. It is starting tomorrow, and this is only the second time that this summit is taking place in Africa. Participants are coming from all over the world. We have different kinds of participants. We have experts. We are going to have some discussion sessions. We have exhibitors coming with to show new innovations, and we have all our people, the citizens of this country, and the civil society organizations and government institutions. Many governors are also going to participate. Many governors are going to receive some awards for their efforts. So it's an international event, and there are also all kinds of participants coming. We even have some ministers from West Africa, for Africa, that are coming, and they've started arriving. More will come, I'm sure, today, because we already issued them their visas and they've indicated their flight schedules and so on and so forth. So, and it's going to be the summit is going to be opened by His Excellency Mr. President, represented by His Excellency the Vice President. So that's to show you also the high political support that this campaign still enjoys from the government.
I asked about the theme, so that
the theme, yes, the theme is toilet sanitation innovations for economic development. So it's to showcase what new innovations are there. Hopefully we can learn a lot from what is happening for other countries. There may be innovations from South America, innovations from Asia, innovations from Africa, maybe also from the Western countries, from developed societies. There are all kinds of toilets that probably people will come with different solutions. Maybe toilets in places where you don't have water, toilets that use little water, and all sorts. The exhibition is also going to be open tomorrow. I cannot tell you what is there, but I expect that things like that will come. And it's also, I think, basically for urban cities, fecal sludge management, solutions will also feature, I'm sure, on these exhibitions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I'd quickly move to Dr. Mohammed Dan Hassan now. You are the Director of City Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Directorate. So that's leads me to my next question. From what the Honourable Minister has said, this summit is enjoying the acceptance and the visibility of the high and the mighty in our society, and of course in the political class supporting the World Toilet Summit. Water is important, is crucial when you talk about open defecation. The Watchdom report states that just 16 states have, some form of stable kind of water supply. Let's look at the FCT now, because that's where you manage. If people do not have water, I mean, it will not be right to now begin to complain that they are engaging in open defecation because water is needed if you must use the toilet. How far would you say you've gone in ensuring that there's water supply for people to use, so that we can begin to now sensitize them on the need to use the toilet? Maybe you speak for the FCT, I'm sure the Minister will speak for the whole country.
Thank you very much for that important question. The water supply situation in the FCT, you can take it from two angles: the urban and semi-urban and the rural. So in the urban settings, you have about 70% coverage in terms of supply. But in the rural, you have about 55% coverage. And if you look at it, in the rural, the reliance is on groundwater resources, because the treated water on the network has not extended to those semi-urban and rural communities. So the reliance is on groundwater. However, in the city, there is the Greater Abuja Water Supply Master Plan, and that project has started. This is planned to extend the supply network to phase 3 and 4 of the city, and the Chinese company has started that, because the treatment plants that we have now, right, is not producing at optimum 100% capacity. It's about 55% capacity, because the conveyance mechanisms are not there to take this water to other places. So therefore they need to produce at less than optimum capacity, because you don't have the conveyance mechanism to even close to city like Lokogoma, Airport Road, Lube and Co. So therefore, this Greater Abuja Water Supply Project that has commenced right away, if you look at Lokogoma, Airport Road, you see the contractors digging to lay the trunk line. That is going on right now. In the rural communities, we rely on exploring and exploiting the groundwater through construction of dug wells and boreholes. However, in some places you have indiscriminate drilling of these boreholes, but we regulate and guide them. Follow the normal standard ethics for water well drilling. And when you drill, let's come and take the sample and test. You don't just start drinking it for water quality analysis. Then also, we now tie the link between the sanitation and the water, such that once you have a sanitation facility and water provision is not there, then you have a challenge there. So we connect the two together. Even with the about 55% provision in the rural communities, we try as much as possible to engage the communities, whether it's dug wells or boreholes, and also to sustain the supply. We train artisans. UNICEF, JICA, Federal Ministry of Water Resources, and other development partners have assisted us in training community artisans. These are artisans that are living in the communities that will maintain these water schemes in those rural communities to ensure it's sustainable, because in the past you have government providing the facility, 1-2 months is gone off. So we now try to form what we call WASHCOM, Water Sanitation and Hygiene Committees. And these committees, their members are trained, the artisans in the communities are trained in maintenance, and that way it ensures sustainability of these schemes, ensure that there is water in those communities, especially the one for the community, because you have some that are provided by individuals for commercial purposes. But once you have
what percentage of the FCT is ODF right now?
Thank you very much. As the Honourable Minister said, with about 92 LGAs declared as open defecation free in the country, the FCT will have 6 area councils. Unfortunately, none of this has been officially declared open defecation free. So what we planned early this year was to pick one local government as a model. So the agency under the FCT administration, the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and UNICEF came together and said, okay, let's select one to use as a model. And Kwali Area Council was selected as a model area council to ensure we attend open defecation free, at least even one area council this year, so that FCT will be on that map. And so far we have triggered 428 communities. Triggering is a kind of techniques, a set of techniques that you apply to make it demand driven, so that the people will demand the change themselves without enforcement. Enforcement is the last resort. And these 428 communities that we have triggered in the 10 wards of the area council, right now as we speak, our officers and fieldmen are in the field verifying those communities that are claiming to be ODF. There will be procedure for verification. Once they are verified, certified, then we begin to now confirm that this ward, out of the 10 wards in the area council, ward by ward, to certify the open defecation free. So we are now doing the verification exercise right now in Kwali Area Council. And we have received tremendous support from the traditional rulers, from the youths, and the women groups especially.
It would be curious for anyone who resides, say, in the Federal Capital Territory, that of the 6 area councils, you opted to pick Kwali for the lead in achieving ODF. What was wrong, for instance, in picking Amak, which is a city?
Yes, actually, it could be any of the 6, but the consensus was reached to go to Kwali rather than start from the city. The city, the other area councils, it's not that they are neglected. We're still doing some skeletal works on it, but the main concentration is in Kwali. And you know, the approach in the city is slightly different from the approach in the rural communities, right? For example, you go to some communities and when you ask why there is no toilets, and they tell you why, because if they have a toilet in the house and your shit and my shit mixed together, it will bring poverty. So you see, it's not issue of even the facility itself. There is the issue of awareness, sensitization, which we need to communicate to them in terms of their health benefits, in terms of the growth of the children. So there are a lot of things around it.
Okay, sorry, Naira, we'll come back to this. Again, just to, we know that this is a money based program, and so some of our viewers probably will find some of the terms words being used to be disgusting, but we apologize for that. I want to bring in Dr. Nicholas Igwe. Of course, we're talking about the human anatomy and how the system regulates itself. You eat, of course, it's digested, you get your energy, you get your life, and then, of course, you also have your waste. From the organized private sector perspective, how do you respond to a very critical issue that the Honorable Minister of Water and Resources raised? Namely, that we are unable just yet to achieve a quantum leap in dealing with ODF.
Thank you so much. I think just to add to that, I must say that the organized private sector in WASH was actually an initiative created by the Honorable Minister of Water Resources. He saw the gap. He saw that the government alone cannot do that. That the development partners cannot do that alone. CSOs cannot do that. That the private sector remains the engine of the economy. He saw the sustainability gaps. He saw the efficiency gaps. He saw the financial gaps. And he inaugurated the organized private sector in WASH in 2019. Having done that, before I go into adding to what he has said, the private sector will not come in a leaky environment, in a place where if they invest, the policies, regulatory, legal frameworks are not in place. So what we have seen since 2018, as he said, the president declares state of emergency. For me, that is a call for private sector, for everybody to support, saying that the government alone cannot do that. In addition to what he has said as well, in 2019, he signed Executive Order 009. The whole world, they were watching. And that means that even in NTA here, you must have safely managed toilet facilities. It is
we do have.
Thank you very much. And it's disheartening to go to some schools. So we had to start bringing even all the ministers, some of the ministers, together to say some schools, you can't build schools, private schools or public schools, without having safely managed toilet facilities. When we talk about water, sanitation, and hygiene, they all go together. So your question to Dr. Dan Hassan, you cannot have sanitation facilities without having water, not only to flush the toilet, but also wash your hands. That 2019 Executive Order 009 propelled the private sector. We now started seeing the strong political will. I must say that he did not end there. In 2020, in his wisdom, the president, Mr. President, he also put together what I always call the multi-stakeholder steering committee, which is being chaired by the vice president. So he brought 17 ministers. So water resources, environment, health, and others, finance. Because the SDG 6.1 and 6.2, SDG 6 as a whole, if you deal with SDG 6, you are able to deal with the other SDGs out of the 17 SDGs. He brought the private sector. I'm a member of that steering committee. He brought development partners, CSOs, Algon president, because some of these things cannot happen only on the federal level. It must be trickled down to the state, to the local government. He brought the representative of the governors forum that used to be His Excellency the former governor of Ekiti State. That for me is stakeholders. Everybody, let's come together and form this steering committee. I think it has been there for 2 years. We have been having regular meetings. Now, why have I taken us through this process? These are the foundations. So when you look at the statistics from before the 2021 rush norm, that you are saying that there's 48 million people that are still defecating in the open, and 46. Apart from the population issues, we needed time to also build a foundation. It takes time to build a foundation. Now that the foundation has been built, the quantum leap that he mentioned, before we were only about 85 LGAs. Today we are 92, and it happened within a very short period of time. Now that the water lesson,
that's no quantum leap.
No. It depends on how you measure the quantum leap. Now that the foundation has been built, we have a very strong foundation. We have private sectors coming in all over Nigeria. I can assure you that the likes of the Coca-Cola initially will not get into anything called sanitation. But today, they are building toilet facilities.
Okay, thank you.
In different places in Nigeria.
Dr. Igwe, I will hold your thoughts there. Of course, we'll come back to you and then you can talk some more on that particular issue. We have with us now, joining us via Zoom, the founder of World Toilet Organization, Jack Singh. Thank you for joining us, Jack.
Hello.
All right, welcome to Nigeria. And my first question to you would be, why was Nigeria chosen for the World Toilet Summit 2022? Looking at the statistics as regards open defecation, and of course, as admitted by the minister just a few minutes ago, we're yet to experience a quantum leap as regards that struggle.
Actually, Nigeria is one of the most passionate countries who wants to solve the sanitation crisis. And there are many countries with problems, but we see more and more country leaders coming up to champion sanitation because it is the cheapest medicine in the world. When you solve sanitation problem, you don't have to spend so much on healthcare, you don't have to spend so much on pollution, you increase your tourism income, you improve the productivity of your people and their ability to earn money, because sick people cannot earn money, right? And if their children are sick, you cannot go to work. You have to take care of your child and you lost income. So, not having toilets and sanitation treatment costs more money than having it. And this is a calculation that Nigeria understand. And so we are so happy the champion of Nigeria is driven by Minister Sulaiman Adamu, and when I met him, I'm so happy that he completely drives this movement. And of course, operationally, we have Nicholas Igwe, who is driving all this. So we form a very good team together with the Permanent Secretary Didi Walsamjek. And so I'm very glad today that we have the World Toilet Summit here. And I want to continue to work with Nigeria to solve this problem, because when we first started, India has a very big problem, and it's solved because of leadership. Prime Minister Modi drive the sanitation. It's difficult, but it is solvable. He built 110 million toilets. In Brazil, we proposed to the government to allow a private-public partnership, and the solution is that in the last 2.5 years, $10 billion has been invested in their water treatment plant from foreign country, from China and from elsewhere. And in China itself, President Xi Jinping became the toilet champion. And so, all the leaders, one by one, is solving sanitation problem. So when you have political leadership, it starts to grow very well. I'm very happy that Nigeria is in the right direction.
Mr. Jack, thank you very much for those kind words you've spoken about Nigeria and how we are proceeding on the right path, even though as our minister here with us in the studios also acknowledges our desire is to achieve a quantum leap. I would like you, for the benefit of our viewers, to tell us some more about your INGO, that's your international non-governmental organization, the World Toilet Organization. What kind of reception have you received worldwide? This is not a matter that is often on the table every day.
Yes, we started in 2001 as a non-profit organization, and we have a very unique way of telling our story in very humorous manner. As you can see on the background, we tell it in a way that people laugh at it. And once you get their attention, they start to listen to the serious facts. Because if you talk about shit or poop or toilet, it is a brown issue. It's very difficult to speak in a very direct manner. Whereas if we talk about it through humor, it becomes legitimate. So over 13 years, our organization created so much media support and coverage that we become very popular. And the United Nations General Assembly, 193 countries unanimously decided to use our founding day, 19th of November, as the official UN World Toilet Day. So this is the way we create legitimacy, so that it's now very safe for serious people to talk about toilet sanitation, because now they start to realize that it's nothing embarrassing, it's not rude, it's very important. And our advocacy drives the entire global movement, and we are very welcome in every country, and now we are welcome in Nigeria, and we are very happy about it.
Thank you, Jackson. Of course, we'll come back to you, so we'd like it to just remain there as the conversation continues. And I'll quickly go to the Honorable Minister of Water Resources now, Engineer Adamu. You talked about earlier, the desire for Nigeria, to make that big move and, actually achieve our goal for 2025. I just quickly want to find out, what your ministry has done? Because in my mind, talking about the statistics so far, I'm thinking that by now it should have increased because of the floods we experienced this year. So I'd like to find out from you what your ministry did and still doing as regards the flood issue, because I'm sure you know, of course, when people have lost their homes, they can't be talking of toilets. Yes, so wash is very important, it's key, and it's very important to achieving open defecation in the country by 2025. What did your ministry do when the floods swept communities, and what's your ministry still doing at the moment now that the floods are receding, and then some people are trying to get back to their settlements and all of that, and some are still in camps?
Well, first of all, let me say for the benefit, I think you are trying to apologize to people because of the use of the word four-letter word on TV, but the truth of the matter is when it comes to our campaign on open defecation, we say it as it is. So please, I want the viewers to understand that why the DG uses the word okay, I'm not allowed to say it. But let me go to your question now. First and foremost, as a ministry, we have the Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency. Our responsibility is to take measurements of all the flows were in the rivers and so on. NIMET, of course, deals with climate in general, the rainfall pattern and so on. So we now analyze that rainfall pattern in relation to runoff that goes into our rivers, into our cities. And every year we do an annual flood outlook. Every year I do it. For the past 7 years consecutively. As minister, I have done that, including this year. And then once we get to the peak of the rainy season, we keep giving alerts. We're using the 2012 flood level as our data for, but we're always giving the alerts. And we always make sure that I wrote to every state government to tell them this is what is going to happen. There's likely to be flood in A, B, C, D local government areas. And we're asking you to do 1, 2, 3, 4, take 1, 2, 3, 4 actions to ensure that you mitigate, because there is no power on earth that can stop flooding. There is no power on earth that can predict the intensity and coverage of flood. You can't do that. But what you can know, that it's likely to happen, and then you can take some precautionary measures. We have done that, what we need to do. Now, when these things have happened, there are other institutions of government that deal with it. At the federal level, we have the National Emergency Management Agency under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. So they deal with issues that have to do with resettlement and support. But we also come in because we have a program for IDPs on water and sanitation. So where we have camps, the ministry goes into support, provision of boreholes and the toilet facilities if desired. We do that. But beyond that, I think all those other issues, there are other agents that deal with it. And then the state governments also have a responsibility because, like I said, we already give them early warning systems, simple provision of drains, enforcement of town planning regulations. These are not federal responsibilities. These are not federal or federal Ministry of Water Resources per se. These are responsibilities of state and local authorities. So if everybody does its bit, then these things can be alleviated. And the president has one of the key things that has come out of this flood disaster this year, that the president has asked me to coordinate the development of a very comprehensive plan to mitigate, to manage flood disasters going into the future. And that means we're going to look at issues, again, critically, what needs to be done before, during floods, and what will be done after, and what are the short, medium, and long-term solutions. Some may be technological, some may be political solutions, some may be humanitarian solutions. So we are working on that. We've been given 90 days to come up with a plan, and we're working assiduously towards that target. But I think even communities, and I'm very happy to say that many communities came out to support their people during this flood level. I was very impressed with the report from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs about how communities came together to support victims of flood. And state governments need to do more to be proactive, and the federal government will continue to do its bit. The National Emergency Management Authority, as you know, even has military personnel so that to help with logistics. And even this year, some of the areas that could not be accessed, we got the support of the Air Force to even deliver some relief material. So things are going on. But really, yes, it has a serious impact on sanitation, on health. Even the one that worries me most is that the people who are being, bitten by snakes and so on, that were also running for their lives. So lots of very uncomfortable and unhealthy and unpalatable things happen when floods happen. But we are doing our bit, or continue to do our bit in that regard. But certainly, there's also a little setback on our campaign for those communities that have been affected by flood. And one of the key things also that really had an impact on our campaign, I didn't mention, was the COVID-19 lockdown. So in 2020, just as we had launched the campaign 2019, and then we got a lockdown in 2020, and that was a big problem. But let me also say, yes, we'll be so much inclined to speaking about that quantum leap, which is very important. But it's still important to know that when you look at it, I've said that in absolute terms, there are millions of individuals that have been taken out of open defecation, and that is some progress. But we need to do much more, but that much more has to be done at local level. I've always been saying that if Nigerians key into this program, it will go on autopilot, because sanitation is everybody's business. It's a personal business. I mean, you should know that you are the one that benefits personally. Of course, your actions have impact on others, but you are the first beneficiary. So if you internalize the issue of sanitation, you know that it's not right for you to defecate in the open, and it's important for you to wash your hands, look for water wherever it is. In local communities, I know that we even had other solutions. When there is no water, they use ash, or soda ash to somehow, they find a way to disinfect. Even some local plants have some disinfecting. So, all these things are there, but people need to be responsible. So it's about your dignity. It's about protecting your family. Does it make sense to you to allow your wife to go out in the open, or your daughters to go and at the risk of being molested? So these are things that people should ask themselves. So it's a personal crusade. So if everybody takes this business as its own, as Indians have done. Look, India in 5 years stopped 600 million people from practicing open defecation. We are talking about 46-48 million people if we are really committed as citizens. I mean, it's not for the president he's just showing you the way. The rest is up to you.
That's the biggest challenge. If we are really committed, from whom do we expect that commitment? I think that's the key issue that we face. And you've earlier referenced the challenges with the subnational entities. To say that sometimes these things happen at the federal level, more particularly also from the office of the president and the ministers, and it doesn't cascade down. To be honest, I haven't heard many state commissioners of water resources speak with the same level of passion and focus as the Honorable Minister of Water Resources does with regard to becoming the ODF. You don't see that. So where then will you generate the critical mass to be able to bring down the numbers of persons who are still engaged?
Well, that's the point, Kingston. That's why I'm saying, so what we're doing is community-led total sanitation. The federal government cannot just go into the state territory without, getting their support and so on. But we are targeting the individual, the communities themselves. So in the communities, we're going down, we're cascading our campaign right into households. So if the people, Nigerian citizens, accept and they don't laugh off this thing that say, he's talking about toilet or something, they see it as the critical, important element of their lives, as it is, as the World Toilet Organization has been championing over time. Once we agree with that, there's a consensus among our people, you don't need the government anymore.
So, well, you will need the government for water supply in some areas. I want to bring in Jackson again into the conversation. He's still with us via Zoom. Jackson, tell us something. The theme for the summit is, we understand, sanitation innovation for economic development. What should participants and other interested persons look out for in terms of what is on offer with respect to sanitation innovation?
Yeah, thank you. So basically, to solve any problem, you start with the problem that exists. And the problem that exists will teach us what is the solution. But the approach for the solution has to be the same mindset as a mother having a child. The mother doesn't think from scarcity. The mother thinks from possibility and abundance. So when a mother gives birth to a child, she has a non-negotiable vision that the child will grow up healthy, educated, have a good job, and give her grandchildren. So this is non-negotiable, and most mothers succeeded. And this is the way we are going to solve sanitation. What is it that is need to be done? So sanitation has two parts. One is the private goods. The other one is a public good. The public good is the public health. It's about the treatment. It's about the safety not to transmit diseases. The private good is the part that you have a toilet and you have to own it, clean it, maintain it. The government cannot go to your house to clean your toilet and empty your tank, right? So there are so many technology that are very affordable, very cheap. People must first want to have toilets. And once they want to eat, then they could borrow money. They could also rear some chickens and increase some income. But we have studied in many countries, poor people actually have some money, but they spend it on other priorities. For example, festivals, religious festivals or national festivals. They spend a lot. Snacks, alcohol, tobacco, gambling. A lot of the time, if you take all this little money and put it together, over a year, you can have a toilet. And then, if they have some subsidy, some access to financing, borrowing, they could even create a thing. That means they don't borrow from the bank. They put their money together, and this month you have a toilet. Next month, the second neighbor have a toilet. Third month, the third neighbor. After 10 months, 10 people have toilet. So you put the money, share together, you don't have interest, don't have to pay anything. So there are many solutions. All we have to do is to copy the solution from other country and put it into Nigeria. So if the other country can solve it, Nigeria can solve it. What we are doing with the World Toilet Summit is to first gather the people who are interested to solve it, and this is going to be many years, and we have to continually do it. The India solution started in 2007, and by 2016-17 they have created toilet for 600 million people. The Chinese problem, we started World Toilet Summit in 2004, and now if you go to any toilet in China, first tier, second tier, third tier, fourth tier, fifth tier cities, they are all clean. And I was very impressed because I thought the Chinese people have a very bad habit of dirtying their toilet. But with cultural change, very clean. Next year, we hope to host World Toilet Summit in Tokyo. We want everybody to go to Japan and see How did the Japanese have clean toilet everywhere? It is in their mindset. They prioritize cleanliness because they know cleanliness is a quality of life. And when you have health, everything is possible. But if you are sick, everything becomes difficult. So in World Toilet Summit, it is not the time we found all the answers. It's the time we found all the people. And then we say, okay, now we've got this group of people. We continue to work. In the next 5 years, 6 years, you will see tremendous solution. But we cannot stop. We must continue. And when there's a will, there's a way. And so many countries are now prioritizing sanitation. So don't worry, it will be solved. But do not think of it in a negative way. Just ask, what can we do? How can we do? And you know the people who can tell you the answer? The people themselves. The people, you ask them, how? And if they say, give me money, you say, no, if you don't have money, how? Then they will start to have a conversation and you will find answers.
All right, thank you very much, Jackson. I mean, you've broken it down to understandable issues for everybody, I believe, so that you now see how it all works out, particularly taken from the phrase sanitation innovation. But I know that Nicholas Igwe is itching to contribute to what he just said, but that will be after this short break, so that we'll begin to focus more on what can be done at the local level and for the individual himself. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We take a break now.
What we face mostly now are flashes of cowardly attacks from the rump of groups that have been routed in one location or the other, moving to another to give the false impression that they are still strong. Our ultimate goal is to eliminate them altogether and restore total and lasting peace over every inch of the Nigerian soil. Sounding tall, but take it home. We are determined to ensure that every inch of the Nigerian soil is safe. That determination is there, the order has been given. But we shall continue to protect the lives and property of Nigerians and foreigners in our midst. We shall continue to work for the peace of the nation and deter elements that constitute threats to the people. We shall bear the full powers of the government to secure every inch of our land. We shall not rest until peace is fully restored to Nigeria.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dssPR@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
Dialogue, empathy, love and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's be and not destroy.
Welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA, and we still have our guest with us right here in the studio, and Jackson joining us via Zoom. At this point, I would quickly go to Nicholas Igwe. I'll let you share your thoughts as regards some of the comments Jack made before we went on that break. But I want to also, ask this question. There's a World Bank report that says that Nigeria loses 455 billion naira annually to poor sanitation. That works out around $20 per capita per year. According to that same report, open defecation alone costs Nigeria $1 billion a year. Now, the market potential of sanitation in the country is really huge. Will this summit seek to address, some of these issues, looking at the same sanitation innovations for economic development?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think Mr. Jackson has really broken this down in a way that everybody will understand. But let me say the theme is sanitation innovations for economic development. Now, under that sanitation innovations that will lead to economic development, we have at the center there good health. Because you cannot talk about economic development of any country or state without talking about healthy people. Then what are those sanitation innovations that we'll be discussing from tomorrow? One, sustainability innovations. He mentioned some of them as he has broken them down. How do people understand what sustainability is around sanitation and how it affects their health and how it also affects the economic development even for themselves or for a state, for their LGA, for the government as a whole. The second one is technology. Just like he said that by next year we'll all be in Japan to actually learn about different kind of technologies. Some of them will be showcasing from tomorrow. That people will see the different innovations that the private sector, the entrepreneurs can key into, make a lot of money, as we all know. Just like you said from the World Bank report, you can get organic manure from fecal sludge. There's no new technology; it's all available. You can get the methane gas, resource material from fecal sludge. No new technology, and we can create jobs, lots jobs can be created. That is on the technology side. The last one is the financial innovations. You hear from FMDQ, who we have partnered with to actually develop different financial models, including the local ones, even to the local government level, to individual, to rural areas, different financial models that they can use to actually have good sanitation that can lead to good health, that can lead to economic development. Lastly, on that theme, how do we create jobs? For us as private sector, we look at the gaps you mentioned from the World Bank report. We look at the challenges as private sector. How do we turn challenges into opportunities? Those are the kind of discussions that will be happening from tomorrow. How do we get entrepreneurs to key into the sanitation value chains? We have the NTAs. We have even the treatment systems itself. When we talk about circular economy, from end to end, like what Coca-Cola is doing today, most of the toilets that we are building in partnership with Coca-Cola in 6 states in Nigeria today, you will never evacuate any fecal sludge. We have a biodigester system there. We have the entrepreneurs that we're going to hand over those facilities to that will earn money. We have gas that we can generate, methane gas for cooking. When I see some of these things, I think I was with the Honorable Minister in Stockholm 2 years ago. We went to some sessions. We will see some African countries are already doing all these things. Why would you go and be wasting money to be buying cooking gas when you can generate cooking gas in your own home? So that is the kind of sustainability mechanisms that people will be presenting. We have different thematic areas within these sanitary innovations. How do they relate to good health? And like I've always said, it's only healthy people that can create healthy economy.
Dr. Igwe, thank you very much. Gentlemen, on the Nigerian front, I'll come to the Executive Director of RUWASA, that's the FCT, on this. But first, I want to come to the Honorable Minister of Water Resources. Look, you talk about advocacy, cascading the message right to the communities and right to the people. But we also know the critical role that governments play. I know that it's an issue that we have discussed here. Federal government provides bulk water. It becomes a challenge for state governments to just do simple reticulation and then get potable water to homes and to industries and even for agricultural purposes. So how do we create this critical mass at the subnational level? Because when you tackle it at the subnational level, state and local governments, you can be sure that the quantum leap that we'll be talking about, almost like talking about quantum physics now, will be achieved readily. Why am I saying this, Honorable Minister? Every time you hear this one is Mr. Project, the other one is Governor this, building road infrastructure, we're all talking infrastructure, toilet infrastructure. Isn't this a quick win? Why? Okay, that would be phasing to the negative. I wanted to ask, why have we not done this? How can we tweak the orientation somewhat to say, hey, look at this linkage. How did India achieve this? I'm not saying go and start organizing visitation teams to India to see how they achieved it. That's not what the point I'm driving at. How do we achieve this turnaround? So that as we are talking about infrastructure, we are talking about sanitation infrastructure as well. So you have the sanitation infrastructure and then the knock-on effect almost immediately. You talked about health, healthy people are wealthy people, and then onto economic development. So get your sanitation right and all other things shall be added on to you. If you use that phrase, you will pay for it. But
well, Kingsley, you see, I've been saying this. I think that we have a problem in this country as a people. Number one, we have a different, maybe the political leaders, or even the people, we have a different understanding of what development is. And we also, part of the reason is that we are too much in a hurry. Everybody thinks development, yes, infrastructure is development. Everybody thinks, we're thinking from the vanity point of view. We want dual carriage, we want airports, we want this. Everything is elite-centered, We don't really look at the basics. I keep saying, if you want, some governors or some at federal level, even us, we want to see Nigeria look like Dubai. But Dubai didn't become Dubai until it had conquered. We can't be talking about wanting to be Dubai, when you go to a fantastic airport, you open the tap and there is no water running. It doesn't make sense. Or you don't get, all the toilet, nobody can use it, it's leaking. You don't even have the culture of cleaning. We have cleaners all over, even in our offices, but do we really train these people? A lot of these people come from the villages, I'm sorry to say, where they are not used to toilets. They come and take these menial jobs, and they don't even take time to train them and give them the importance of keeping that toilet clean. So these are the issues.
Or they clean toilet to the money, and then that is
and then they disappear. But what I've done in my ministry, for instance, is to say that the cleaners have to be there all day.
Precisely.
Until, they periodically enter the toilet. So at any time, I challenge anybody, go to my ministry, you check my toilets every time they're clean. So I understand your frustration, and that's the frustration of many of us. We need to tackle the basic issues first. If we don't get those basic issues sorted out, then we're not talking. How can you be spending billions of naira building airports when half of a fraction of that money you can use it to provide municipal water supply for your people? And these things don't happen overnight. And we're always looking, maybe you look at the 4-year horizon. In one of our sessions here, I've given an example of one mayor of New York. He was leaving. The last act he did before he left was to sign off a plan, a 100-year plan to provide, to provide water for New York for the next 100 years for New York City. We are not thinking like that in this country, and we have to start thinking like that. Our political leadership, our experts, our technocrats, this is the way to go. When I came into office, I had a 15-year roadmap. So some journalists were asking me why a 15-year roadmap, because of your project, maximum you have 8 years. I say yes, because I hope that in any case, in water delivery, whether supply, water resources, or sanitation, this is something that is a continuous process. It's not something that has a start and a stop button, So this is the way I think we should go. And for us, one of the things we've realized, Kingsley, is we need to work with the private sector and we need to work with the communities directly. If we're able to do that, and people must understand that, especially when it comes to issues of sanitation and many other things, you don't have to depend on government to do these things. The private sector itself, we spend a lot of money, people bring money. How much do we spend, for goodness sake, donating to churches and mosques and not providing toilets? Only about less than 20% of our toilets, or our schools and health institutions have sanitation facilities. Why don't you spend money? You go to take the road here from here to Lokoja. Count the number of filling stations that are on that road. But count the number of toilets. So we need to get our priorities right.
Usable toilets.
And that is what Executive Order number 9 seeks to do. But we say the people need to embrace it. Yes, in India they were very poor. India is a very rich country. They were able to spend $20 billion on the Swachh Bharat mission. They built 110 million toilets. But in Nigeria, the moment we say government should start building toilets, that's the end of this program. Because number one, governments cannot afford it. Some governments will not provide the money, even if they have it. And people will fold their arms and say they are waiting for government to do it for them. So the message we are sending to people is you have a responsibility to yourself. Under the Executive Order number 9, we even have a clause, a provision for enforcement, for legislation. But we are saying even when we have the legislation, let us encourage people to build rather than punish. So before we do, we take punitive actions, let us provide the toilets. Like in Abuja, we say, okay, we don't have public toilets. So if people go to defecate in the open, you see some kabu drivers will park their vehicles and enter the bush. There's no provision. But thank goodness now through the Executive Secretary and the FCT administration, I think about 380 entrepreneurs have been given permission to build private toilets at strategic locations. And people should understand there is money to be made. And what Offshore is trying to say is that you can earn a living out of sanitation. There is money to be made.
But Honorable Minister, let me also interject, because this thing concerns all of us.
Yes.
There must be supervision. It is not sufficient to say the private sector, you have come in, there's money to be made, so you keep making money. As the minister said, you must have one, trained toilet cleaners. Two, they must also have the right equipment and then the right disinfectants. At all materials. One of the cheapest disinfectant you can get anywhere is bleach. Exactly. A bleach, but again, but poverty also comes in when you put one bottle of bleach in the one disinfectant in the toilet, and you come back, you put it in the morning, you come back in the evening, it's gone. Or you put toilet paper there, somebody will go there, roll it, and then put it in the pocket. Well, I'm sure that we can overcome. We can begin to.
One of the spin-offs of the Swachh Bharat mission in India is that they developed, after investing $20 billion, they created a multi-billion-dollar sanitation economy in India. All these things you are talking, the disinfectant, they provided local solutions. We did that during COVID. We found that people were providing local solutions, disinfectants. Rather than importing Glade and other things, and we have companies like Reckitt Benzer here in Nigeria, Procter & Gamble, that are producing some of these materials here.
And you create jobs when people are working in those factories. So back to the executive director Uwasa in the FCT. I should say in the FCT, I had an experience, let's say in the capital city, there are facilities, shopping malls, their toilets are pretty clean, no question about that. There is a particular hotel, I believe it will sound like an advertisement. Look, over the past 10 years or so, anytime I'm in that environment and I say, look, let me go to their washroom, I have never been let down by the state of cleanliness of their hotel. And I was talking about supervision. There's a supervisor's card that says every hour, if the supervisor has come around to check, if it's okay, you see the signature there. I should say it. I'm talking about Rockview Hotel in Wuse 2 here in Abuja. And you will see it over the 10 years. They do that. So here in the FCT, what more can we do, learning from some of the issues that you gentlemen have raised, and in particular, what Jackson has also prompted us to say, look, at the individual level, at the community level, even at the corporate level, let's begin to take responsibility, one, for education, providing infrastructure, and then being innovative in our sanitation issues.
Yes, thank you very much. And the city, we liaise and partner with sister agencies like the Abuja Environmental Protection Agency, the Council on Environmental Health, for regulation, monitoring, and inspection of public places. On the rural side, what we do is to try to sensitize them and teach them. For example, in the rural communities, when they complain of the economic aspect in terms of construction of toilets, those who give reasons why they're not having toilets, we now say, no, we're not asking you to go to the city and buy WC and bring it here. No, use locally available materials. There are various categories of toilets. We have a sanitation ladder, which you would go from the lowest level to the highest level. So we say, okay, use locally available materials, construct your own toilets, and have safely managed human waste. And this we'll be able to achieve. How? We gather them through the chiefs, through the youths. We leverage on the youths trained by the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, 100 youths in each local government. So we use those youths as ambassadors. And from there, we got the women groups, the traditional rulers. So we now say, okay, we want you to do an analysis. We'll break it down. We say, okay, in the last 1 or 2 months, who were sick in your family? They will mention 1, 2, 3. The babies, children, adults. What did you spend in the hospital or clinic? We put the money. If you can't remember exactly, give us an estimate. We'll write it down. We say, okay, what happened? You discover the illness, the diagnosis in the hospital were all water sanitation related. And we say, okay, this month you spent what? This one 5,000, this one 10,000. This one couldn't even remember the amount. During that period you spend this money, did you go to the farm? Or did you go to a small business? No. So you see, if you are taking care of this sanitation, this money you will channel it to your business, or even renovate this your house. One even say, you will have married a second wife. We say to receive better.
That's not costly, actually.
Because going to bring more issues. So we bring from that angle. When they look at that economic aspect, you now see the reason. And then we also engage the youth in what we call TBO, toilet business owners. So the small business that deals in all these toilet facilities at the local level, they did that. And then also, about 4 months ago, we had the Japanese ambassador, Then we have 3 people from the United Nations, from the United States of America. They visited this country. Then the Chief of WASH UNICEF section, and then the officers from the Clean Nigeria Use the Toilet campaign under the Federal Ministry of Services. We now organize a visit to these rural communities. We visited there, they saw it themselves, they interviewed the people directly. Some could speak English, some through interpreters. One of the Americans said, all these years, he has been reading reports from the screen of the computer. He was sitting behind the screen and read reports, see photographs. That was the first time live. He was with the typical community, talking to them directly or through an interpreter. We stayed back, so it's not look as if we are kind of window dressing it. Interviewed them, saw the facilities, saw the challenges. That was the first time he had an encounter with the live community, seeing the challenges, seeing the prospects.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed Dan Hassan. Of course, because of time, we cannot, continue with your line of thought. But I'm sure we'd have some other time to talk about this issue. Just before I will wrap up this discussion segment, I just quickly want to come to the Honourable Minister. At the beginning of the discussion, you talked about the fact that the government was doing so much, stakeholders are doing so much, and then yes, the bottom line of all this is that everyone has a role to play. Individuals, we need to be conscious about this and play an active role in ensuring that we achieve the zero defecation status by 2025. You made a reference to one particular issue, which is the cultural issue. I mean, the summit could achieve so much. We could have the toilets everywhere. But is it not possible that we can still find people not just wanting to use the toilets because, like you said, there's this habit and there's this culture that no, don't use toilets. How do we solve that quickly?
Well, that will come with enforcement eventually. If that's the last resort, but if we have to do that, we'll have to come to that. The building regulations must insist that people, even at rural communities, we must create building regulations at rural communities to enforce people to build toilets and to punish people. There are so many things, name and shame. We have seen a lot of examples from India. They give children whistle, and whenever they see somebody squatting, they start blowing the whistle, they start ridiculing these people. So many ways, but we must get there either way. First, we call it the carrot and stick approach. Now we're providing the carrot. Encouraging people but there is a point that we reach if we have to enforce. I think we'll do that, and I hope that the states and local authorities will be able to do that, because that will not be federal responsibility in the long run.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen.
Okay, before we thank our guests, I just wanted Jackson. Jackson, in about 30 seconds, just tell us. I'm sure you heard some of the conversation around here as to some of the local challenges and the hopes and aspirations that we have. Are you encouraged and therefore willing to further aid us in our drive to achieve ODF, that's to say higher sanitation standards? Very briefly.
Yeah, I think that one of the very big resource is that 50% of Nigerian population are Muslim, and in Islam, you have to pray 5 times a day, and you have to be clean before your prayer. So the ablution needs is very essential. So what we do in Bangladesh is that Bangladesh government doesn't pay money for the toilet, right? It is all private driven, but they have able to reduce open defecation from 35% to 3% by marketplace. How do you do that? First, there's an NGO that's called BRAC, very, very good. But the mosque is a big driver. We get the mosque to challenge and give them the prize. Maybe the minister can give them the prize, which is the mosque that made all their followers clean before prayer. And this concept called najis, which means dirty. If you are dirty when you pray, that prayer is invalid. So the mosque become a big driver, and in Bangladesh, the imams are challenging to be champion for sanitation, and that is a big driver. I think you can use it.
All right. On that note, we'd like to thank Jackson, the founder of the World Toilet Organization. It's an international non-governmental organization. Thank you for being part of our conversation today. Here in the studios, we had Dr. Nicholas Igwe, coordinator of the Organized Private Sector WASH program. Dr. Igwe, thank you for being around. Dr. Mohammed Dan Hassan, the Executive Director of the FCT Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Directorate, WASSAC, who were part of us. Last but not the least, deep thanks to the Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adam. Honorable Minister, thanks for being with us and best of luck at your summit.
Thank you.
All right, so that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria today. Join us again tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning for a fresh package. I'm Kingsley.
And I am Henry John. Thank you so much for watching. And just to quickly add that pay attention to sanitation and every other thing shall be added to you. Have a great day.